which deals with that. Today we have even the copyright law, which is also part of the trademarks issues. And this is generally the area of trade, Mr. Speaker. I want to agree with the petitioner that this is an area we need to relook because most of the activities take place in the coast where ships dock. Recently we had a case of a ship disappearing while it had some contraband goods. And this is an area, Mr. Speaker, we would like to look as a country and improve that law so that Kenyans can be served better. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Igembe Central.
Most of the title deeds, as it is said, especially when the government has and crash programs, most of the titles appear without maybe correct spelling of the names of the owners. Others come in the names of those who have sold their land to other people, and more so, the others which come where the acreage is not indicated as per what is on the ground. And therefore, land disputes come in, and because lands are most emotive issue, I've got a lot of emotive issues, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, disputes escalate and people end up into courts, and these problems needed to be solved. I think the petition is timely, and I think it should be looked across the nation, not only like Laikipia, so that you can resolve these issues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kangudo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I like to raise and debate on the issue of second petition of the issue of land. Mr. Speaker, if this country we want to exercise our supreme powers, we have to respect the Chapter 5 in our Constitution, which describes the use of land. Mr. Speaker, our Kenyan citizens are suffering all across the whole country because of the issue of allocation of land. We are having challenges when our people, some are having title, some are not having title, and sometimes you are not able to know who have that entity deeds of the right to utilize the land. And I'd like to request, if that petition can go accordingly, this House can come up with the laws to save our Kenyan citizens because they are Sarabi, because of issues which are not described in the issues of use of the land. Thank you.
Member for Samburu North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I support the second petition, the one on land. Land being a very emotive issue, and Kenyans are really experiencing a lot of problem in terms of acquisition of documents for acquisition of land. I think we need to urge county governments and also the land commission to ensure that there is speedy allocation of land whenever people apply for it. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I also want to raise an issue on petition that I tabled in this House some time back on the issue of social safety protection for elderly, disabled persons through the committee. And I think it has taken so long for that particular committee, Labour Committee, to bring up on the issue of that petition I raised last time.
Member for Kiminini.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I comment, I want to thank you. Now I can see the new gadgets are in Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And this is going to improve in terms of efficiency and effectiveness of parliamentarians. Under your chairmanship, we want to say thank you. And my neighbor here is saying he wants a bit of some training, but also he's offering some training for those maybe who are not computer literate, for that matter. Mr. Speaker, I want to comment on the issue of the lands. They know themselves. They know themselves. So, Mr. Speaker, there are so many petitions coming under the Committee of Lands. My humble request, Mr. Speaker, is maybe you approve some extra sittings, because some times back you had indicated that petitions must be dealt with in less than 60 days. There are so many petitions which have come, and they are still lying. And as you can see, almost on a daily basis, we are seeing petitions coming in. And matters of land, Mr. Speaker, is very critical. I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, because I had also done a petition from my community constituency using the Bikeke side, where people were displaced. Up to now, they have nowhere to go. I did another petition of some land from my constituency, Mr. Speaker, called Meso Farm. Up to now, we've not gotten any solution on the way forward. I'm also aware there was a petition in this House pertaining Chepchoina Farm, which is in Trans Nzoia County. So it seems this committee is overloaded, and maybe you can approve some extra sittings so that even if a petition has come, it is important that they can try to expedite so that it can be able to be completed within that period of 60 days, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, I thank you.
Member for Funyula.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you. I wish to comment on the second petition concerning the issue of land. And Mr. Speaker, sir, when you look at the provisions of the Land Registration Act number 3 of 2012, it's very clear on the system of registering land, the system of guaranteeing security title, and generally how to treat the issue of double allocation. Honestly speaking, Mr. Speaker, sir, in this modern era, the question of double allocation should not arise unless it's an ethical practice or it's just a mischievous attempt by the registrar to mislead and defraud an owner of land, their parcel of land. Mr. Speaker, sir, I think the issue of land is an emotive issue. I allowed the attempts by the Ministry of the State Department of Land to digitize the land records, and I would urge them to hasten so that all parcels of land in this country are digitized to ensure the case of double allocation does not arise. I'm aware there are quite a number of petitions from very many sources and very many people and groups in this country that have been saddled in the department, and probably, as my colleagues have said, you might have to be a bit more innovative to ensure that we process all the petitions. Otherwise, we stand a chance of being seen as an insensitive house that does not address the concerns of the people of Kenya. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Well, of course, I hear you and I hear the Honorable Chris Wamalwa. But of course, if you want to make proposals for amendment, you just have to go back to your standing orders and make the relevant suggestions. But of course, it will not be fair to just extend it for only one committee. I think the better way would be to seek to have to extend the sitting, not just of the committees, but also of the plenary, because then it may end up having one committee really being overworked. But remember, committees are also entitled to form subcommittees of themselves. So maybe that could be, in the meantime, the better route that one could suggest to the Committee on Lands, because I appreciate that there are quite a number of petitions and other issues that have been presented to the House touching on land matters. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Leader of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, July 24th, 2018. Number 1, the legal notice number 164 relating to Excise Duty Act, adjustment of the inflation rate and the explanatory memorandum. 2, the annual reports and financial statements of the Office of the Controller of Budget for the financial year 2016-2017. And 3, the report of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year that ended 30th June 2017 and the certificate therein. Number 1 is the Judiciary. Number 2, Kenya Rural Roads Authority. Number 3 is National Museums of Kenya. Number 4, Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. Number 5, Kenya National Highway Authority. Number 6, Kenya Industrial Property Institute. Number 7, Occupational Safety and Health Fund. Number 8, Energy Regulatory Commission. Number 9, Wasonyiro South River Basin Development Authority. And number 10, last, is the Public Complaints Committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So, Honorable Katole Metito.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, July 24th, 2018. The report of the 49th session of the African Caribbean Pacific, that is ACP, Parliamentary Assembly and intersessional meetings of the ACP EU Joint Parliamentary Assembly held in Brussels, Belgium on March 20th to 22nd, 2018. Thank you.
Honorable Metito, I thought we had to table 2 reports. one of ACP and the other one on, who is the other member? Honorable Kamket, you are the one to table the one on ACP?
Yep.
Or what?
Mr. Speaker, I would like to, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, July 24, 2018. The report of the 138th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, and related meetings held in Geneva, Switzerland on 22nd to 28th March 2018.
Very well.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Katola Metito.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House notes the report of the 49th session of the ACP, Parliamentary Assembly and intersessional meetings of the ACP-EU Joint Parliamentary Assembly held in Brussels, Belgium on March 20th to 22nd, 2018, laid on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 24th July 2018. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kamket.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, which is that this House notes the report of the 138th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, and related meetings held in Geneva, Switzerland on the 28th to 22nd, 28th, 2018, March, laid on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 24th July 2018. I beg to give notice.
Very well. Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Honourable members in the chamber, this includes the time it will take to install software and to mount the tablets, since the work was going to be in both houses. A total of 350 tablets have been delivered, with 109 having been installed with customized applications for members to receive order papers, votes and proceedings, committee schedules, the Constitution and statutes, bills, acts of parliament, committee reports, among other key parliamentary documents. The contractor has undertaken to work overtime to ensure he installs 30 tablets every day after the rise of the House, and hopes to complete the project by Thursday, 16th August 2018. However, members will only be allowed to use the tablets once all of them are installed and training is done and completed. Honourable members, this is a project that will not only enhance paperless operations within the chamber, but also reduce the cost of our operations and save the environment. I wish to therefore request for your patience as the clerk and his team complete the exercise. Thereafter, a short user training will be mounted as soon as the exercise is concluded, but I wish to assure the House that the gadgets will be user-friendly. I am certain that you will embrace this slight technological interruption. I thank you, honourable members. Yes, Leader of Majority.
Mr. Speaker, before we continue to the next order, order number 8, order number 9, order number 10, bills which have been referred to this House by the Senate. And Mr. Speaker, when you read the message, you referred these bills to the relevant committee of this House to make a determination in accordance with Article 114, subsection 2, which, if you allow me, Mr. Speaker, says, if in the opinion of the Speaker of the National Assembly, a motion makes provisions for a manner listed in the definition of a money bill, the Assembly may proceed only in accordance with the recommendation of the relevant committee of the Assembly after taking into account the views of the Cabinet Secretary responsible for finance. So, Mr. Speaker, when you read the message, you referred these bills to the Budget and Appropriation Committee to give us that determination. And, Mr. Speaker, Article 109, subtitle, Exercise of the Legislative Powers. One says, Parliament shall exercise its legislative power through bills passed by the Parliament and assented to by the President. And, Mr. Speaker, that article, subarticle 5, says that a bill may be introduced by any member or committee of the relevant House of Parliament, but a money bill may be introduced only in the National Assembly in accordance with Article 114. So, Speaker, before we deal with the order number 8, order number 9, and order number 10, we will really want your guidance whether the chair of Budget and Appropriation Committee has tabled before this House what they make of in accordance with Article 114(2), that these are money bills, and if they are, what is the position of the Budget and Appropriation Committee? If they have not submitted a bill, Mr. Speaker, to the House, if they have not submitted a report to the House, then, Mr. Speaker, order number 8, order number 9, and order number 10 are misplaced. And I need your guidance to remove them from the order paper until and unless the time when the chair of the Budget and Appropriation Committee will table the relevant departmental committee report, so that we move on. Mr. Speaker, in exercising our legislative powers, we must always respect the Constitution and what the Constitution says about in terms of the demarcation of roles and mandate of the two houses. So, Mr. Speaker, we cannot, and the clerks cannot read for the first time these bills if the Budget and Appropriation Committee have not tabled their report, Mr. Speaker. I need your guidance.
On the same issue, Honorable John Bandi.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to also support the point of order that is raised by the Leader of Majority. Mr. Speaker, I think, in my view, this Article 109 of the Constitution on exercise of legislative powers, where it says that but a money bill may be introduced only in the National Assembly in accordance with Article 114. And so the question that I think we need to determine is, at what point is a bill considered to have been introduced in the National Assembly? First reading, in my view, is introducing the bill to the National Assembly. And that can only be done in accordance with Article 114, which requires that money bills can only originate from this Parliament, from the National Assembly, cannot originate from the Senate. So if the bills that have been listed for first reading, some of them turns out to be money bills, then certainly they cannot be introduced for the first reading, having come from the Senate. And I think that, to me, would be fidelity to the Constitution and the rule of law. But, Mr. Speaker, allow me just to mention, because this is something that I think I mentioned outside Parliament, but I think it is important that it is said here, and maybe I was misunderstood when I said it. The clerk of the Senate really didn't understand me well, or what was reported by the media was wrong. I think the clerk to the Senate, which means the office of the clerk, not necessarily the clerk himself, needs to advise the senators accordingly when they are introducing bills, so that we don't get into this kind of circus. And I expect the Senate to respect the advice of parliamentary staff, because a lot of times members of Parliament are advised by the technical people, but they ignore the advice. So in my view, I think the clerk to the Senate, through his office, needs to advise our senators properly, so that we don't end up like we are there's a war between the two houses. The Constitution is clear. If it is a money bill, it cannot originate from the Senate. And again, the Constitution is clear that the Senate only exercises oversight role on that portion of money that is allocated to counties. Any money that is allocated to national government cannot be oversighted by the Senate. When I see senators calling witnesses from national government institutions to account for allocation, for revenue that is allocated to national government and not to county government, I ask myself, I went to school reasonably well. And to me, the reading of the Constitution is plain under Article 96, that Senate only exercises oversight power on that revenue that is allocated to counties. So if money is allocated to a national institution, is allocated to government, national government departments, agencies, and ministries, then what role would the Senate have in oversighting it, and it is not provided in the Constitution? And this is something that I think it is the office of the clerk that can help the senators understand, and the senators need to take advice from the office of the clerk seriously so that we avoid these unnecessary fights. I have not seen a member of National Assembly attempt.
And with respect to these ones, these three, because they were also taken through our technical staff and more particularly our budget office. And they have been examined. And if you look, for instance, the first one, County Government Amendment Number 2 Bill 2017, the long title is An Act of Parliament to amend the County Government Act to provide for the procedure for the disposal of a report of a commission of inquiry established under Article 192, Clause 2 of the Constitution, and to provide for the nomination of a termination of a suspension of a county government under Article 192(4) of the Constitution and for connected purposes. In fact, even if you just look at that long title, you can see it's here. That's why when it went through our budget office, they advised both of us that indeed it's not a money bill. If you look to the next one, it means the National Flag, Emblems and Names Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 8. It's just to make provision for people to be able to have flags and emblems and without necessarily involving any expenditure from national. It's really, I think it can safely be said to be something that is covered by the 4th schedule of the Constitution. Then the other bill listed as order number 10 is the assumption of office of the county governor bill. Again, this is just to provide for when they assume office without any financial outlay. So it's for that reason that when the consultation happened, and with advice from our budget office, it was found that it does not involve expenditure of public resources, which may not have been appropriated for or provided for in the normal budget process. But I think that should resolve the first issue raised by the leader of the majority party. The Honorable John Bandi raised another different, yet also quite fundamental issue relating to the provisions of Article 109 and more particularly Clause 5 run together with Article 114 of the Constitution. So maybe I would imagine that the other members may have wanted to contribute to that, what the Honorable John Bandi has just raised. Of course, the Honorable John Bandi, I may just wish to say, if you look at Article 260, and I'm sure that's why you sparingly refer to oversight of some other state officers. Article 260 defines what a state office is and who is a state officer. And among the people who are included there are governors, members of county assemblies, members serving as county executive officers. I hear these days in funerals they are called ministers. but they are called CECs, County Executive or Executive Secretaries or something like that, county executives. But they too are defined in Article 260 as state officers. And the Honorable John Bandi quite rightly saying that, yes, if you look at the provisions again of Article 95, Clause 5, A and B, the oversight authority of state officers, starting with the president, the deputy president, and all other state officers and public officers, is the exclusive domain of the National Assembly. It is very clear about that. And if you go to paragraph B of that 95.5, you'll see that the oversight of state organs, again, is reposed in the National Assembly. So sometimes, Honorable John Bandi, I think we have said this so many times, but you see, we cannot again gag anybody from entertaining themselves if they desire so to do, using the authority granted by Article 125, which says Parliament or any of its committees can summon any person. So, of course, that has been used very generally to mean that you can call people to come and entertain yourselves in committees, and I suspect that's what could be happening. Because if you have no oversight authority over a state organ, Honorable T.J. Kajwang, or a state officer, what business is it now coming to tell them you will see us? See you where? If you go and make a report, who is going to implement it? So if somebody goes to court and argues that these reports that seems to recommend certain things against a particular state officer is made by a body outside of the law, acting ultra vires. Again, obviously that is something that is likely to find favor with the courts. So sometimes you really don't understand, but in keeping with the spirit of something that is very popular these days since March 9th, maybe that is what is happening. And therefore, everybody is at liberty to, I think, is feeling free to entertain themselves. But I don't know whether that's the same issue which the Honorable Junet wanted to address.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also stand up to add my voice, Mr. Speaker, to the issue that you have very well enumerated, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Parliament cannot run like this. Mr. Speaker, what the Senate is doing, and this matter, Mr. Speaker, should not be trivialized. It's a very important matter, Mr. Speaker, in terms of functioning of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, the Senate and the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is there to guide us and the standing orders. But Mr. Speaker, when you see, and this is a matter that has been canvassed in this House when you were seated there last Parliament, in the 11th Parliament, Mr. Speaker, and we thought that the matter will end and everybody will adhere to the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, it looks like people now, I used to hear of people who want to expand in land, Mr. Speaker, land. They want to take other people's land. But I've seen now people want to take other people's functions and duties, Mr. Speaker, without any law, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the Constitution, it's very clear, Mr. Speaker, every House has been given their functions, and Article 95 and 96, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, if you look at 95, it says the National Assembly enacts legislation and laws, Mr. Speaker. But if you look at Article 96, Mr. Speaker, it says the Senate participates in law-making, Mr. Speaker. They don't make laws. Mr. Speaker, I'm reading from the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. They participate in law-making, Mr. Speaker. They don't enact laws. They participate. The way the bills are taken for public participation, Mr. Speaker, the way you take bills, Mr. Speaker, the way you take bills to the public for public participation is the same way the Senate participates. I'm not the one who wrote the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. It is here, unless it's another English. Article 96(2). The Senate participates in law-making functions of Parliament. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, concerning the counties again, not even laws that concern other issues, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, You know, why I'm saying this is because now it's becoming too much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, they are summoning anyone and everyone under the sun, Mr. Speaker. And they're using Article 125, as you said, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Article 125 is you summon someone according to your functions. You can't just summon somebody whom you have no authority over. There are people who are going to serve in these houses after us, Mr. Speaker. There must be a committee that's formed within both houses to address this matter, Mr. Speaker, very soon. Mr. Speaker, if you look at Article 260, state officers are defined. And a senator is a state officer, Mr. Speaker. Is a member of parliament and is a state officer. That means we should form a standing committee in this house to manage the Senate. Because we are supposed to oversight state officers, Mr. Speaker. And senators are state officers, Mr. Speaker. Because the role of oversighting state officers and state organs are in this house, Mr. Speaker, not in the Senate. So that means we must form a committee that will address and oversight the Senate, Mr. Speaker. Because that's what the Constitution has given us. Those are the powers the Constitution has given us, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not saying all this to trivialize anything, Mr. Speaker. I am saying this so that we can have proper order. Mr. Speaker, nowadays, very soon you will provide housing inside this chamber, Mr. Speaker. People from the executive, Mr. Speaker, are invited to this house left, right, and center. Some of them are almost coming with blankets, Mr. Speaker, because they have to wait to finish with the committee of the National Assembly, because then the Senate is waiting for them at 5 o'clock in the evening or 4. Now they carry a blanket, they say you can spend in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, you must liaise as the chairman of the Parliamentary Service Commission, Mr. Speaker. You must call this matter to order, summon the Speaker of the Senate and his team, Mr. Speaker, sit down with them. No, you summon him as the chairman of the Parliamentary Service Commission, Mr. Speaker. It's not a small matter, Mr. Speaker. So that we tell him we can take this participation directly to the public now, not through the Senate. Because they are supposed to participate, just like my mother in the village there, that this law we are passing here, what do you think of it? Is it a good law or a bad law? That's what the Senate is supposed to do. Mr. Speaker, finally, I'm not trying to demean the House, Mr. Speaker. But I'm trying to tell them where their jurisdiction lies and begins and ends, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, they have constituted standing committees that have no work to do. Standing committees on foreign. When our country is traveling, he is the chairman of national security. Which national security are you handling? National security is a function of national government. They are not even askari. They are only county askaris in the villages. Are you going to summon the inspectorate of the county askaris? Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious matter. It's not a matter of jokes, Mr. Speaker. It's a matter that we must address. The way Honorable Mbadi has put it here, Mr. Speaker, have you seen us summoning governors? Or ministers, as they are called in the funerals? Or chief officers? Or MCAs? No. We have left all that function, Mr. Speaker, to be handled because the Senate has been put in place just to protect the interest of counties, period. Mr. Speaker, now you are calling, the other day, last Parliament, they were investigating Kenya Airways. Mr. Speaker, have you seen Kenya Airways flying to Migori? Mr. Speaker, or to Kakamega? This is a national asset, Mr. Speaker. Now, tomorrow, the other day they were investigating pipeline, Mr. Speaker. Pipeline. What has pipeline? It's a state. What business that pipeline got to do with the Senate, Mr. Speaker? The other day they were calling these independent offices, DPP, this other one, EACC, they were calling this. Mr. Speaker, this is a house that has gone rogue, Mr. Speaker. And we must put sense into their head. Now I'm not going to pass that route, going to my office. I will use the back route. They can slap me on the road. But Mr. Speaker, this is a house that has gone rogue, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, we must send a clear message to them. We have sent many bills now to the Senate, Mr. Speaker. They have not looked at it. 6 of them, Mr. Speaker. They are lying there for the last how many months? Why, Mr. Speaker? Just because we have refused to give them oversight money. Monies that they were supposed to go to preach issues in the funerals, hold barasas, buy people mandasis in the villages. So they are saying they cannot look at our bills until we pass that money. Mr. Speaker, that is holding us hostage. It's blackmail. Mr. Speaker, very soon, before a bill is brought to this House to wind up the Senate, it is better they behave. I'm foreseeing a situation where this House can wind up the Senate, Mr. Speaker, you know very well. We just wind it up and send it to the President to assent to it. But before we go there, because we want the devolution to what? Eh? No, I'm getting one soon. Mr. Speaker, before that happens, they need to know where their jurisdiction ends and begins, and let us form a team from this House and their House so that we can agree on the boundaries, Mr. Speaker. We don't want to take our problems to the judiciary, because the judiciary also misinterpreted the law the other time. They said the Senate can decide how much money, we have to sit with them to agree how to divide national revenue. That money is collected in the counties, never come to the national kitty. Why should you sit down with people who are not contributing anything? Why, Mr. Speaker? Money is collected in the markets. Do they come to Nairobi, Mr. Speaker? No. They end up going to their kitty. Now the money collected nationally, they want to sit down so that you can agree on how to share that money. Mr. Speaker, that's how the Supreme Court interpreted the law the other day. You see? I don't know how, I'm not a lawyer, that whether review can be done, Kaluma will tell us, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, the Senate, we will not go again to the Supreme Court to decide for us where our jurisdictions lie, but where our boundaries lie. We will not go to the executive to ask them where is the boundary between us and the Senate. We want the senators, some of the senators and some of the members of parliament to sit down and draw the boundaries, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, people will become a laughing stock as a parliament now. Because you will see senators calling the same minister, the same PS, the same state officer for the same issue that has been canvassed and discussed in the national. Very soon you will see them investigating the sugar. They are not done with it. They are just waiting for the two committees to finish their work, and they will tell you, now we are looking. Sugar that has been eaten 6 months ago, Mr. Speaker. You will see them now calling for those kind of meetings. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, give a ruling on this matter, Mr. Speaker, if possible. I know you are looking at, they may think that you are undermining them, but Mr. Speaker, we have agreed as a House that boundaries must be drawn. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, I can see an intervention from the member for Kikuyu. Is it on the same?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, is on the same. And as much as you've given your guidance on the orders number 8, 9, and 10, and clearly guided the House that they are not money bills. But I think it's also important, Mr. Speaker, because we've seen it. And I am sure there are certain other messages that have come to the Senate on matters that touch on money bills. And I think what the leader of my minority did indicate, that it's quite clear that all money bill related matters must start or begin here, not in the other house. But consider, Mr. Speaker, the land report from the Lands Committee in this House on Ruaraka, which this House adopted. We have made recommendations. Those recommendations are to be implemented by agencies of government. The same matter is now under consideration by the Public Accounts and Something Committee of the Senate. What will happen if that committee comes up with recommendations that are counter the recommendations of this particular House? And that's why I want to agree with Honorable Junet that indeed the best thing and the most tidy thing to do is to participate in the process within the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, I have seen them summon members of government who are serving in parastatals. And I think it goes to the heart of our Constitution and Article 96. And I must thank you, Mr. Speaker, as chairman of the Parliamentary Service Commission for these gadgets. Article 96, Honorable Speaker, I think 96 sub-article 2, seeing has disappeared. It's quite clear, Mr. Speaker, that the Senate represents the counties and serves to protect the interests of the counties and their governments. Sub-article 3, Honorable Speaker, is quite clear that the Senate determines, Honorable Speaker, the Senate determines the allocation of national revenue among counties as provided in Article 217 and exercises oversight over national revenue allocated to the county governments. So I wonder, Honorable Speaker, when Kenya Pipeline or KPLC or any other of the other parastatals that have been allocated money from this assembly and not going to counties, but to serve national interests. The Senate has no business oversighting those particular parastatals. That work should be left to the National Assembly. And the National Assembly, again, Honorable Speaker, we have said it, you made it clear in this parliament and even in the 11th parliament, that for PIC and for PAC, it must be post-audit. Look at the issues that the Senate are dealing with. There is nothing that has come out of audit reports. It's things that people pick up in the media, in the newspapers and elsewhere, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, it's a matter that you may need also, as much as you said you've consulted, at least on how you introduce bills, even on how they deal with other issues outside matters to do with bills. When do they summon people and over what in government? So that we don't end up with two conflicting reports, and then agencies of government will not know, DCI and EACC will not know who to investigate and who not to investigate on Ruaraka. We have been reading in the media, EACC and DCI, Honorable Speaker, probably following the recommendations of the Lands Committee from this assembly, has already investigated and was probably about to charge people in court. And maybe the only reason we have not seen people being charged last Friday, and hopefully maybe this Friday they will do it, is because they have been waiting for the other committee in Senate to finish and make recommendations. Therefore, it's imperative, Honorable Speaker, that they remain, and not them, we all remain true to the provisions of Article 95 and 96 of our Constitution, that what is the work of the National Assembly remains in the National Assembly. Let Senate, Honorable Speaker, there is a lot of work, and in this fight against corruption, the President called on Parliament, and that is why the President addresses a joint sitting of both houses, when members of the National Assembly and senators are present. When the President called on Parliament to help him in the fight against corruption, it is this House to oversight the National Executive and its agencies, ministries, departments, and agencies. But for county governments, as Honorable John Badia said, you will never find any committee of this House summoning a governor on any particular issue, be it on land. The Lands Committee could also summon the governor for Narok, for instance, on the Mount Narok issue, because it's a land issue, or on environment, the Committee on Environment. But we leave that to the counties, Honorable Speaker, to the Senate, sorry. But there are very many issues pertaining to loss of public funds in the counties, Honorable Speaker. The reason directed by His Excellency the President on stalled projects. In our counties, because the counties had the largest turnover of governors who lost from the first governors to the second governors, Honorable Speaker, there are very many stalled projects across all the counties that nobody has been able to oversight and ensure that those projects are completed, because our senators now are busy running after KPLC, Kenya Pipeline, Ruaraka, instead of going to oversight what is provided for by the Constitution and Article 96, Sub-Article 3, that they oversight monies allocated to county governments. And if they did that, Honorable Speaker, I am sure these people could be busy 365 days in a year, because I think the only problem, Honorable Speaker, is that the other house, with all due respect to them, tends to be very idle. I think they sit only 1 or 2, 3 sittings a week. And therefore, the rest of the time when they are not busy, Honorable Speaker, and I think they need to take cue from what we have done as a Budget and Appropriations Committee. With the support of this House, we have allocated money in this financial year for their monitoring and evaluation. As much as we are waiting for regulations on how they will utilize that money, it is to use that money now to go and offer meaningful oversight over resources that have been allocated to the county governments, and leave this other work to the National Assembly and other agencies of government. With that, Honorable Speaker, I want to state, Honorable Speaker, that matters that touch on money bills, as a Budget and Appropriations Committee, Honorable Speaker, we shall never allow anything to emanate from the Senate to come to this House. We must remain true to the Constitution, that all those things that relate to money bills will emanate from this House. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honourable members, I thought the Honourable Junet wanted to, he made some specific appeal which does not require a ruling. Honourable Kaluma.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is on a separate issue, because I believe the one which was being transacted by the House has been ably exhausted. Mr. Speaker, I'm seeking your guidance as the leader of the House and our president in Parliament on your interpretation of the provisions of Section 62 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, more so, Mr. Speaker, insofar as that provision relates to the vetting of public officers subjected to Parliament for approval or otherwise to hold public offices. Mr. Speaker, that Section 62 provides as follows: that a public officer or a state officer who is charged with a corruption or economic crime shall be suspended at half pay with effect from the date of the charge until the conclusion of the case, provided that the case shall be determined within 24 months. That's a period of 2 years. Mr. Speaker, the interpretation of some lawyers, including myself, is that the spirit of Section 62 that I've cited before the House is to the effect that you cannot hold public office during the pendency of a criminal charge being prosecuted against you relating to corruption and economic crimes. I think that is the spirit. Mr. Speaker, yesterday in the course of our normal business as a parliament, an event occurred in the House which pricked the conscience of the nation, more so considering the renewed battle against corruption, championed by none other than His Excellency the President, and a battle in which, Mr. Speaker, you know, even the leader of the minority side, His Excellency Raila Odinga, joins him, and a battle in which those leaders requested all leaders and all citizens to join them in. Mr. Speaker, the President of the Republic of Kenya, in good faith, let me say in utmost good faith, nominated a Kenyan to be considered for appointment into a public office. Mr. Speaker, before vetting, that individual was investigated and charged with a corruption and economic crime and is being actively prosecuted. Mr. Speaker, around midday yesterday, news broke out. And I remember, Mr. Speaker, we were sitting somewhere, not in Russia, but within Nairobi, transacting the businesses which we are elected to transact as members of Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. And we took time and adjourned to watch what was happening. The news which came, and it was in all media, from mainstream to social media, was how can Parliament be sitting down, taking their time, engaging public resources, to vet a public officer, not a public officer, a potential holder of a public office they know is charged and is being actively prosecuted before the court of law. Mr. Speaker, I believe this is something which all of us, you know so. But Mr. Speaker, if I may read, a Kenyan seated somewhere posed this question to me. A criminal suspect undergoing active prosecution for corruption before a court of law, being vetted for suitability to hold public office by Parliament in a nation which claims to fight corruption. And I found myself very antagonized in terms of my duties as Parliament and, of course, my duties as a leader. Mr. Speaker, I'm seeking your guidance on this matter in terms of how the committee, proceeds, and particularly on two issues. One, it being the case, Mr. Speaker, that in our standing orders, we don't have provisions for summary process or procedure. And it being the case, Mr. Speaker, that once a person is remitted to this House for consideration, for approval or otherwise, for appointment to a public office, we have timelines within which we have to execute that mandate vested upon us by the Constitution. How do we proceed in a situation such as this? Is there a need for us to amend the standing orders to be in line with the mood of the nation on particular issues which stand at our national values and the Constitution? Or what do we do in the situation where we are? Because absent that direction, Mr. Speaker, the general public there is not seeing us to be pulling along in the direction the national leadership, led by His Excellency the President, wants us to. Number two, Mr. Speaker, if it is the case that the innocence of that public officer would be upheld as provided under Article 50 of the Constitution against the provisions and the spirit of Section 62 that I've cited, how do we facilitate such a nominee charged before a court of law, remanded and not granted bail, somewhere like Kamiti, somewhere like industrial area, and that may happen, to attend parliament, be vetted, and return to industrial area to be in remand pending trial? It's a fundamental question, Mr. Speaker, because in our series of benchmarking, there is a time we were in Philippines, and we were told when a public officer is charged with corruption, we will report on Russia officially, Mr. Speaker. This is a serious matter. I don't want to be distracted. But in Philippines, Mr. Speaker, when you are charged with an economic crime or corruption, first, there is no right to bail. You will stay in remand during your trial until such time as the case is concluded. And they did mention to us that the trial span for an economic crime or a corruption case is between 5 to 10 years. So that at that time we were in Philippines, Mr. Speaker, 2 senators were serving remand for embezzling CDF funds, like the one we have up in Russia. And so essentially they served that entire term during trial in remand. I'm saying, if indeed we can, and we are obligated to vet a person who is charged, assuming that person is in remand, how do we facilitate them to come? With the remand clothes. With the remand clothes, I don't know whether there is any, and how do we facilitate them to go back? But lastly, Mr. Speaker, if indeed it is the case that we don't have summary process, when you are vetting a person to hold public office, which by dint and by the spirit of the provisions of Section 2 he cannot hold upon appointment following approval by Parliament, to what end are we engaging public time as Parliament undertaking the vetting? Mr. Speaker, those are the issues for which I was seeking and I was craving very humbly your guidance, so that we may not be seen by the public at whose, on whose behalf we sit in this Parliament to be antagonizing the spirit of the nation, but be properly understood. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, honourable members, for reasons that are in standing order number 86, I think I will not allow debate on that particular point. The Honourable Kaluma has raised serious issues. That's true. But of course, because of standing order number 86, it will be inappropriate for me to allow further debate. But of course, Honorable Kaluma, consider the provisions of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, because the name or names come to the House, and they are just like the ones I've just referred a while ago to the relevant committees. The committees are time-bound, within which period to bring their reports. And the Parliamentary Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, is also clear that if within the time frame given, the House has not expressed itself one way or other, the nominee would be deemed to have been duly appointed. So, honourable members, and that's why I'm saying that what the Honourable Kaluma has raised is really a serious matter. So I imagine that the committee was in those kind of difficulties. That, yes, they are aware of certain facts, and I don't want to really delve into those facts. But if the House does not bring a report either approving or recommending disapproval, the nominee stands appointed. I think it's a choice. I think I imagine that the committee must have been grappling with those issues because the House was not going to proceed without the report of the committee, and if the committee just sat on the name, then the nominee would stand automatically appointed. I think it's a matter that perhaps we need to think through. And of course, also look at the necessity to look at what exactly is contemplated in section 62, especially because 62 deals with serving officers, serving state officers. Is there a corresponding provision about a person proposed to be appointed into a state office? Perhaps, Honorable Kaluma, we need to, I think we need to also look, since it is within our power to make provision relating to those things, save of course for the presumption of innocence, which everybody seems to want to run to, but of course, the issue of race is of great moment, because you have a nominee, and the statutes provide that within a given period, you must express yourselves one way or other regarding the nominee's suitability or otherwise. So, I mean, I think it is within us as a House, charged with the responsibility of making legislation as ably demonstrated by the Honorable Junet earlier when he was dealing with another matter, when he said that you make but you do not participate. So perhaps we should also now, because of the issues you've raised, Honorable Kaluma, begin looking at that section 62, especially with regard to situations such as the current one, which you've just described. And I know you're not alone. You're not alone in making that observation, though there have been a lot of concerns raised by many Kenyans. And and I'm sure, even what the committee is doing is also actually guided by 124. If you look at Article 124, it says that when a House of Parliament considers any appointment for which its approval is required under this Constitution or an Act of Parliament, the appointment shall be considered by a committee of the relevant House. B, the committee's recommendation shall be tabled in the House for approval. And C, the proceedings of the committee and the House shall be open to the public. So we even as much as we look at Section 62, we also obviously will be required to look at our own standing orders when we have those kind of issues, alongside the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act. I think we should consider all the three, both the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Act, the EAC Act, Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, and our own standing orders regarding a situation such as this one, which I think has not arisen in the past, but of course, save for what the House will recall it did in 2013. But again, I would advise members to look at what indeed happened in that particular matter of 2013. What were the recommendations of the committee? It's because the committee did not recommend appointment. It is the House. It is you members here on the floor. And as you know, fortunately, under Article 122, I don't have a vote. It is you as the House who moved amendments to the report of the committee, notwithstanding their reservations, to move that that particular citizen be appointed to the particular office he'd been nominated to. So again, you as the House have the final authority on this matter. And I think just for the reasons stated, because of being standing under 86, let me just stop at that point. Honorable Kaluma, I'm sure I know you are very active in these matters, and I thank you for raising this matter on the floor of the House. It is a matter that is, I think, is waiting in very, very serious consideration by the House and its committees. So, honourable members, I think let me not allow further debate on that. We will obviously advise accordingly once we see the report of the committee. Don't forget that the report also passes through my hands before it comes to the House. So thank you for raising that matter, Honorable Kaluma. Let's move to the Honorable Amalo. You still have something else on this? Not on this, please.
It's not on that, Mr. Speaker, but maybe a bit of some relevance. This is in line with standing order number 1, Mr. Speaker, where it clearly stipulates that where a matter maybe is not provided for, or it's a matter of precedence. A precedence has been already set in Parliament. So as we'll be looking at that matter, Mr. Speaker, I kindly request you, because this is a house of tradition, sometimes back when we were vetting Honorable Mutudo for Nakada, I remember there was a rejection, and he had a matter in court. And out of the principle of innocent until proven guilty, which is under Article 50, you can also look into that. But this plenary has veto powers. So I think it's the highest time that the committee members are listening as they do their report. This committee, this plenary, is the one going to make a decision. I thank you.
Very well. The member for Arieta, I can see you have an intervention.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think this House is moving too fast to keep with the thoughts and interventions, because we've covered 3, all of which I had an intervention on. And so I will not speak to this, because I had wanted to point out, as you properly ruled, that perhaps under Standing Order 85 and 86, particularly 85, what my brother Kaluma was raising was actually anticipating debate. But I do agree with him, except, Mr. Speaker, our solution cannot lie in Section 62, because 62.1 restricts to serving members. 62.6 excludes any office for which there's provision for removal, and there's already provision in the Constitution, so it will not help us. I wanted to suggest that perhaps where our solution will come from is in the Constitution itself, from Article 73. And perhaps the committee would then consider that. And to add, Mr. Speaker, that if the matter is of such a fundamental nature, perhaps, Mr. Speaker, you could invoke your jurisdiction, because as you've properly ruled before, a matter of constitutionality, whether before the House or before the committee, can be raised at any time. And therefore, the question of constitutionality of that process can actually be used to bring it forth for discussion. But, Mr. Speaker, I had actually wanted to offer, and I do not know whether you've closed the debate, in terms of the member, leader of majority, leader of minority, what they spoke to, which I agree with. But what we didn't do, Mr. Speaker, is to provide some sort of way forward, because we've left it open. I had wanted to indicate that there are certain avenues that the Senate could seek to use, and we could come to them, in terms of the role of Parliament generally, in Article 94, when they talk of democratic governance, in terms of 96, when it talks of oversight, but it says in terms of impeachment of the president, but it is Article 125 and the ruling by the Supreme Court that the Senate has sought to use. But I agree with the members who've spoken that a proper and narrow interpretation of the Constitution will truly restrict the jurisdiction of this Senate. But how do we move forward? Mr. Speaker, I was going to suggest there are 2 ways. Either, and the reason why we have to do this is because Kenyans are going to be very confused. If there's any one matter on which the National Assembly committee looks at and comes to one conclusion, and then the Senate looks at and comes to a different conclusion, and we are both Parliament, even the executive will ask, so which one do we follow? I was going to suggest, Mr. Speaker, that either one, we consider this a matter that would fall under Article 124(2), for establishing a joint committee to really see before, appearing to disagree and speak forth to each other, to really see and narrow which are these areas that the Senate can look at beforehand and which one can they not. But if that cannot happen, the second option, Mr. Speaker, fortunately you are the chair of the Parliamentary Service Commission. Article 127 establishes the commission for precisely these kinds of matters. In 127.6, it is a fundamental function of the Parliamentary Service Commission to ensure efficient and effective functioning of Parliament. And that is an area of efficient and effective functioning of Parliament. And I wanted to suggest, Mr. Speaker, that we could adopt either of those two. I would actually prefer the second, so that as an independent constitutional organ, the Parliamentary Service Commission would then give us guidance on this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well spoken. Thank you for drawing that. But of course, even the first one, there's no reason why there cannot be a joint committee, if there is will. But please allow me the opportunity to explore either of the two options. Let's move to the next one.
Order number 8, the County Government Amendment number 2 Bill, Senate Bill number 7 of 2017, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to amend the County Government Act to provide for the procedure for the disposal of a report of a commission of inquiry established under Article 192(2) of the Constitution, and to provide for the termination of a suspension of a county government under Article 192(4) of the Constitution and for connected purposes. Order number 9, the National Flag, Emblems and Names Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 8 of 2017, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to amend the National Flag, Emblems and Names Act to allow members of the public to fly the national flag in their places of residence, work, and business, and for connected purposes. Order number 10, the Assumption of Office of the County Governor Bill, Senate Bill number 1 of 2018, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to provide for the procedure and ceremony for the assumption of the office of governor by the governor-elect and for connected purposes. Order number 11, Committee of the Whole House.
So you can announce. We are considering the copyright.
Order members, we are considering the Copyright Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2017. Is the chairman here?
Clause 3.
I go on to propose that clause 3 be part of the bill. The mover?
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 3 be amended as on the order paper. This is basically, Honorable Chair, to delete the proposed requirements that the board register all dealers of copyright is an impossible task. So basically, we agree that we delete this because it will not be possible for the copyright board to register all dealers because they are coming in daily and they are in hundreds of thousands. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
I go on to propose that clause 3 be amended as proposed by the chair. Do I take it that the list we have here is for members who want to contribute? Honorable Omalo, what's your point of order?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, ordinarily, the chair, as he moves this amendment, he's talking about deleting the paragraph. I expected him to have given the gist, at least for members to know what is the gist of doing this, so that it can be informed maybe to support or to oppose. But I listened carefully. My very good friend from Marakwet, I think he didn't go further to explain the justification or the gist or the benefit of that. So I humbly request if you can allow him maybe to, because ordinarily that's supposed to be the procedure. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Fair enough. Chair, maybe you can just give a brief highlight of the gist of the bill.
Honorable Chair, this particular proposal, they had proposed that Kenya Copyright Board registers all copyright owners within each year. But when we had a meeting with the Copyright Board, we had a meeting with all the, what we call the authorities that register copyrights, copyright owners register so that they can do collections for them. They told us basically it will be impossible to register these copyright owners because there are so many across the country, and they requested that it will not be possible for them. Considering that the Kenya Copyright Board is a small organization, they said maybe in future they can register, but for now they said it's not possible for them to do that. That's why we, as a committee, we took the amendments that they gave us, that it will not be possible for them to register these copyrights.
I hope it's now clear, Honorable Omalo. Honorable Shamala.
Thank you, Chair. I'm standing up on a point of information. Actually, the Copyright Board would have had to remove that particular clause calling for the registration of copyright works, simply because, and hence we can then refer to clause 9, which provides for voluntary registration. I doubt that the reason was because there were too many copyright works. The reason was because it was calling for mandatory registration of copyright works, and copyright works are considered automatic rights, which are automatically considered automatically registered. You don't have to go and automatic copyright conferred on the owner, and you do not actually need to register it. And the reason that that particular clause section was deleted was to then later provide for voluntary registration, not because there were so many works and they were not able to register them all at once.
Well said. I go on to put the question that clause 3 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? I'll go again. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of our contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now go on to put the question that clause 3 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of our contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
There's no amendment on this one. And so I go on to propose the question that clause 4 be part of the bill. And I go on to put the question that clause 4 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 5.
I go on to propose the question that clause 5 be part of the bill. Mover.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I propose that the clause 5 be amended as on the order paper. And Honorable Chair, I need to give the recommendations of the committee why we came up with this one. So one of them, Honorable Chair, is on the appointment of the Executive Director of Kenya Copyright Board. And we said, Honorable Chair, that we need this process to be very competitive. The process needs to be competitive. And then, Honorable Chair, we also said that we need to introduce reasonable qualifications for appointment of the Executive Director, e.g., one has to be an advocate. They requested that one of the qualifications is one has to be an advocate of the High Court of not less than 5 years standing, with at least 5 of these years being in managerial experience and experience in copyright matters. This is due to the technical nature of copyright matters, and we took these amendments, Honorable Chair.
I go on to propose the question that clause 5 be amended as proposed. Honorable Mutua Barasa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was to comment on another matter.
Something else?
Yes, Madam.
Then I would advise members to take out their cards and only have the cards on if you want to contribute on this one, to avoid confusion. I'll go on to put the question that clause 5 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I go on to put the question that clause 5 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 6 and 7.
We don't have an amendment on this one, and I go on to propose the question that clauses 6 and 7 be part of the bill. And I go on to put the question that clauses 6 and 7 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 8.
I go on to propose a question that clause 8 be part of the bill. Mover.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 8 be amended as on the order paper. Honorable Chair, this is because the team that came to see us said that there was an oversight to include, they didn't include dramatic works as part of what is copyrighted. So we discussed and we agreed that dramatic works be eligible as part of works that can be copyrighted. So we agree that we amend the act to cover dramatic works under the copyright and related rights.
I go on to propose a question that clause 8 be amended as proposed. Honorable Manzo. Washira Kabinga. I go on to put the question that clause 8 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I go on to put the question that clause 8, as amended, be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 9.
We have no amendment on this one, and I go on to propose the question that clause 9 be part of the bill. And I go on to put the question that clause 9 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 10.
I propose the question that clause 10 be part of the bill. Chair?
Honorable Chair, there were some missing words. I propose that clause 10 be amended as on the order paper. While we went through the bill, there were some missing words on clause 10. So basically we inserted these missing words on paragraph 1D and 1E of the proposed section 26 of the Act to make it complete and to make sense. So I propose that we amend as we proposed.
I go on to propose a question that clause 10 be amended as proposed. Honorable Nangabo, are you on this one?
Chair, I just want to agree with the chair with these amendments that they have brought. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Nikal?
Chair, just seek a clarification. What were the missing words so that we can be in line with them?
Honorable Chair?
If you look at clause 10, 1E and 1D, is just me check, the committee agreed this to extend
or maybe you refer Honorable Nikal to the
yes.
To the order paper.
Honorable Chair, maybe we can look at the 1D. Where is that? Yeah, it's here. Look at clause 10 on the order paper, Honorable Nikal. 1E, 1D and 1E. The communication to the public of the old works or substantial part of. There was a word missing original, I believe, on 1D and 1E is what we added. That's why it's on the order paper now. In the bill that we add didn't have that one.
Honorable Nikal, I hope it's clear.
What I'm seeing is one is actually talking of communication, the other one is talking of distribution. This is significantly different.
Yeah, so any other member? I don't see any, so I go on to put the question that clause 10 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it, and I go on to put the final question that clause 10 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 11.
I propose the question that clause 11 be part of the bill. Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 11 be amended as on the order paper. This is basically cleaning of this particular clause because there were some typographical errors and inserting missing words. So basically, this is polishing this particular clause on errors on spellings and some missing words as the one for clause 10. So I propose that we amend as on the order paper.
I propose a question that clause 11 be amended as proposed. Honorable Shamala?
Thank you, Chair. I'm seeking a clarification from the Chair on clause 11 because on memoranda of objects and reasons, it says that the bill amends the Act by inserting a new section 26A to 26D to provide for an artist resale right for visual rights. Is this the position or was it just grammatical errors?
Honorable Chair?
I didn't get what the member said. Basically, clause, we have clause 11 and we have the new clause 11A. I thought we are on, I was on the first one, clause 11, and then we have not gone to the new clauses. Yes.
Okay, Honorable Shamala, I think you're fine. And I go on to put a question that clause 11 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I go on to put a question that clause 11 be as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 12.
I propose a question that clause 12 be part of the bill. Honorable Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 12 be amended as on the other paper. Honorable Chair, we are trying to amend section 28(1) of the Act to introduce a new paragraph to include the making available of sound recordings as part of the Act that fall under the exclusive rights of a copyright owner. Secondly, Honorable Chair, is to amend and correct the proposed amendment to section 28(3) to align it with the proposed deletion of subsection of 4 and 5. Honorable Chair, that is, I propose that we amend as per these proposals that we have given.
I propose a question that clause 12 be amended. I go on to put the question that clause 12 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I go on to put the question that clause 12 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 13 and 14.
I go on to propose a question that clauses 13 and 14 be part of the bill, and we have no amendment on this. So I go on to put the question that clauses 13 and 14 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 15.
I propose a question that clause 15 be part of the bill. Chair?
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 15 be amended as in the order paper. This is to correct some topographical errors, which you can see it on the order paper. Honorable Chair, also to require the board to determine and publish the shares of the blank tape levy that the producers and performers of sound recordings will be entitled to. We said, Honorable Chair, because of piracy, is all blank tapes that are coming to through the port of Mombasa and any other entry is we levy a particular amount for blank tapes. These are CDs, these are flash disks, so that at least the producers will get some amount from this, and they can collect either through KRA or anybody, or CMOs, collecting management organizations. Then they share. We are saying now they'll agree on how to share the amounts that they'll have collected. I propose that we amend as have proposed.
I go on to propose a question that clause 15 be amended as proposed. And I go on to put the question that clause 15 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I put the final question that clause 15 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 16.
We have no amendment on this one, and I go on to propose a question that clause 16 be part of the bill. And go on to put the question that clause 16 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 17.
I propose the question that clause 17 be part of the bill. Honorable Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 17 be amended as on the order paper. This, Honorable Chair, is to change the word competent authority that is appearing on the bill, on the act, to board. And this is the Kenya Copyright Board, because it is ambiguous to have competent authority here, and we have already changed everywhere else, competent authority to Kenya Copyright Board, which is basically the board in the divisions. So this is basically to make it clearer and not be ambiguous. I propose that we amend as proposed.
And I go on to propose a question that clause 17 be amended as proposed. And I go on to put the question that clause 17 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I put the final question that clause 17 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 18.
I propose the question that clause 18 be part of the bill. Honorable Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 18 be amended as on the order paper. This basically, Honorable Chair, is on one of them there is an omission in the proposed amendment to section 35(1) of the Act to correct an omission which is spelled there on the order paper. Secondly, Honorable Chair, is to delete the word technical and replace it with the words technological protection to align it with the proposal, because they have given a proposal that we replace technical. Technical is not very, it's just a word, and, but we want to include other technological protection measures. So we have replaced that word. Secondly, third, Honorable Chair, is to amend the Act to cover dramatic works under copyright and related rights, as I had said earlier on clause 3. So basically, everywhere where we have copyrights, and it's not covering, mentioned and not covering dramatic works, we're including the word dramatic works so that it covers also our artists who are actors who do drama work. I propose that we amend as proposed.
I propose the question that clause 18 be amended as proposed. Honorable Nyikal.
Chair, as I follow and understand the need to include dramatic, I think that's okay. But it's not clear to me the difference between technical and technological protection. Something tells me it may be quite significant, but I don't. What is really the difference?
Chair.
Honorable Chair, the word technical is, as in the dictionary, is very clear that we can read it from the dictionary and get the meaning of this particular word. But what we are saying here is we want to cover all technological work, which includes technical, because when we say technical, we just narrow it down. But when we, I believe those who are very good in English should be able to explain to us the difference between technological and technical. But we saw it in our wisdom that technological protection, or the word technological, is broader than just leaving it as technical. So maybe some of my colleagues can add more.
Is it clear, Honorable Nyikal? And you can maybe clarify with your dictionary, even further.
Then you are talking of technical, it's like repairing something that has broken down. So that is technical. But if you are talking of technological, then you are talking of applications, many things that can come in, and innovations. So I think it's looking at technological innovations. But I think it makes sense to me.
Okay. Honorable Osotsi?
Thank you, Chair. I think the reference to technological protection here was because we were seeking to protect copyright items which are done online, which one of the people who appeared before us, that is Aga Khan University, insisted that we need to also look at the provisions of online copyright. So I think that was more, it made more sense than just making a reference to technical. We were very specific on the measures, the technological measures that we are going to take to protect online copyright.
Well, Honorable Shamala, you want to add your voice on this?
I think Honorable Osotsi has put it correctly. It's technical refers to a specific topic, whereas technological is for the protection of copyright online or using technological means.
Fair enough. I go on to put the question that clause 18 be amended as proposed. Sorry. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I go on to put the question that clause 18 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 19.
I propose a question that clause 19 be part of the bill. Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 19 be amended as on the other paper. Honorable Chair, this is to amend the proposed new sections 35A and B to require an internet service provider to disable access to infringing copies within 48 hours of business hours of receiving a take-down notice. This is, Honorable Chair, in case if there are any infringing rights that have been noted and reported, then the internet service provider is given 48 business hours, so that in case we are saying business hours because in case it's reported on a Friday, it's pushed to the following Monday, so that they are able to take down what is infringing. Secondly, Honorable Chair, is to amend the proposed new section 35A to require an ISP also to notify an alleged person who has infringed upon receipt of a valid take-down notice. We tell them that we are going to, in the next 48 hours, we'll take it down. Third is to amend the proposed section 35B also to allow any person to file a counter notice to take down notice. In case you are not satisfied about the take down notice, you can give reasons why you don't want to take down the infringement, and also to correct some typographical errors, and to allow a person to apply to the High Court for the grant of an injunction, especially with regard to live events. So, Honorable Chair, I seek that we amend as proposed.
Very well. I propose the question that clause 19 be amended as proposed. Honorable Osotsi.
Again, Chair, this is meant to further enhance the protection of online works so that organizations that are involved in disseminating the online works, that is mainly the ISP, are able to take some actions, and if there is any infringement, we know where we can go to. And it also provides mechanisms for one to file a counter notice on takedown notice by the ISP.
Honorable Mwangi Mboro.
Chair, Madam Speaker, I also support this because it's also supposed to give the ISP, Internet Service Providers, enough time to provide information to the investigative agencies so that they can know where the subscriber of the copyright infringement is. So I support also.
Honorable Nikal.
It sounds to make sense that we're giving time, but how does it read? Upon receipt of takeover notice, acts to remove or to disable access to allegedly infringing content in the manner provided under this within 48 hours business. Is that how it's exactly supposed to read?
Chair?
Because that...
Honorable Chair, I think that is there's some mistake there. It's supposed to be within 48 business hours.
Exactly.
Business hours. Yeah. And business hours is basically between Monday to Friday. Yes.
Okay.
8 to 5.
I think it's the order of the words.
Yeah.
And I go on to put the question that clause 19 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. You've been overtaken by events, Honorable Nikal. I go on to put the question that clause, order, Honorable Nikal. But you are not even addressing me properly. You don't have the mic. Let me finish, and then we are still debating. You can go on to say something on the bill. I now put the question that clause 19 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. What's out of order, Honorable Nikal?
Again, maybe for my guidance, when we said that the changing the order of the wording, that made sense. But as we have gone, have we changed the order of the wordings? I could be guided on that. It was agreed that changing the orders makes sense. But have we, in our process, changed the orders? So that's where I wanted guidance.
Chair, what's the position?
I believe, Honorable Chair, that we have said, the way it's been printed here, I believe the actual amendment is correct. And if it is not correct, then we need to amend as we have said, 48 business hours. And business hours also is Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. So that at least when we are doing the final cleanup, before it goes for signing, basically that is what we need to do.
Honorable Nikal, you know, in my own reading, we are talking about within 48 business hours. So as it is, it passes the message. I don't think we need to necessarily go into amending the wording on top of another amendment. So I think we can proceed.
Clause 20.
We have no amendment on this one, and I go on to propose the question that clause 20 be part of the bill. And I go on to put the question that clause 20 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 21.
I propose the question that clause 21 be part of the bill. Mover?
I propose that clause 21 be amended as on the order paper, Honorable Chair. This one is to correct some typographical errors, and two is to harmonize conflicting penalties appearing at section 38.4 and 38.6 in relation to the same offenses. So basically we are trying to harmonize so that at least in case anybody goes to court, it doesn't also confuse the charges on which penalties are they going to apply. So we said we need to harmonize, and that's what we've basically done on clause 21. Nothing else. And I propose that we amend as on the order paper.
I propose a question that clause 21 be amended as proposed. Honorable Osotsi? No, you clearly don't need to say anything. I go on to put the question that clause 21 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I go on to put the final question that clause 21 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 22.
I propose a question that clause 22 be part of the bill. Chair?
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 22 be amended as on the order paper. Basically what we are doing here, Honorable Chair, is we are deleting the whole clause 22 and recasting it so that to recast the proposed new section 38A on the criminal liability for body corporates to cover for the presumption of innocence for the staff and officers as guaranteed by Article 50, Section 2 and A of the Constitution, so that at least, you know, you are innocent until proven killed. As anticipated in the law. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Okay, I propose a question that clause 22 be amended as proposed. Honorable Mburu?
Madam Chair, I just want to add on that because initially we want now to have even the directors and the employees of the company are equally liable for the copyright offenses that they may incur or the infringement that they may incur. So the investigative agencies will go all the way to the directors and the employees who are responsible for the infringement. Thank you.
I go on to put the question that clause 22 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I go on to put the question that clause 22 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 23.
No amendment, and I propose a question that clause 23 be part of the bill. And I go on to put the question that clause 23 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 24.
I go on to propose a question that clause 24 be part of the bill. Chair?
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 24 be amended as on the other paper. Honorable Chair, we came to this because we wanted to amend section proposed section 46(3)(a) to provide that the board may grant a professional license for a period not exceeding 6 months. What happens, Honorable Chair, is the CMOs, the collective collection management organizations, if as they apply for license, before they are granted the license, we said it was prudent that they get a professional or interim license for 6 months as they go through the process to get the actual license, so that they don't stop doing the business. Secondly, Honorable Chair, is we have also said where an organization, a CMO, is as infringed its license, the board, before they do the registration, they publish the registration of a CMO in 2 daily newspapers of national circulation, in addition to the Kenya Gazette, and also their own website, Honorable Chair. Third is to require the board to invite representations from a CMO and its members prior to the registering that CMO. And finally, one is was just cleaning up and correcting some typographical errors, Honorable Chair. I propose that we amend as we have proposed.
I propose a question that clause 24 be amended as proposed. And I go on to put a question that clause 24 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I put the final question that clause 24 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 25.
I propose a question that clause 25 be part of the bill. Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 25 be amended as on the other paper. One, Honorable Chair, we want to amend, we are proposing to amend new section 46B to make a person with a minimum of post-secondary qualifications from a recognized institution eligible for election as a CMO member. We are alive to the fact that, Honorable Chair, most of these members, some of them might not even gone to school, or they might not have gone to past Form 4. And we say, since they're the ones who have the talent, it is important that they are included to be directors in the CMOs. Honorable Chair, we have also said we need to allow the CMO directors to serve for a renewable a term of 3 years, renewable once, and the CEO to serve for a renewable term of 4 years. This is in line, Honorable Chair, with the Mwongozo. Mwongozo is a policy that is in place that we are trying to align the bill, the law to this. Third, Honorable Chair, is to amend the proposed new section 46D to specify that failure of a CMO to account to at least 20% of its members constitutes a ground for inspection of its books. In case the CMO is not able to account for books properly, then 20% of the members can petition so that the books can be inspected by Kekobo or external auditors. Fourth, Honorable Chair, is to provide that the failure to furnish information or records that constitutes grounds for an inspection should relate to a request from Kekobo or members of a CMO. Fifth, Honorable Chair, is we are proposing to delete a proposed section 46F on rules for purposes of recasting it as an amendment in section 49 of the Act, which provides for regulations to be made by the Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Chair. This is basically delegating those powers. Sixth, Honorable Chair, is to reward the proposed section 46G for purposes of clarity. 7 is to require the annual publication of information on CMO collections and distributions. Basically, this is like audited accounts of the CMOs. They publish so that the members can see and audit and query them. Thank you, Honorable Chair. I propose that we amend as proposed.
I propose a question that clause 25 be amended as proposed. Honorable Nangabo?
Chair, it seems as if I'm lost. I just want to ask the chair to go step by step so that I can catch up with him. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, you,
Honorable Chair, I don't know if the members just walked in. I don't know what is not clear, so that maybe she needs to ask me which particular section or...
Honorable Nangabo, is it the audibility or the substance of what the chair is presenting?
Substance of what the chair is.
To understand what he's saying.
Honorable Chair, it is important for the member to note that, you know, when we are in this committee of the whole House, already we are assuming that members have read that we did debate this particular bill last year. So, and members have a good knowledge of this, but basically from the next clauses, maybe I'll go slowly and explain more, and maybe some of the members also can contribute to make it clearer for Mheshimiwa to understand.
I go on to propose a question. That clause 25. No, I already proposed a question, and I think Honorable Nangabo was seeking clarity. I see Honorable Shamala.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm seeking clarity from the Chair again. I appreciate and understand the fact that a member of the collective management organization will be eligible for election as a director if he holds a post-secondary qualification recognized in Kenya. I appreciate that the membership of collective management organizations are generally artists. I am concerned that you have not defined the education requirements for the chief executive officer of a collective management organization. If you look at the Copyright Board, the executive officer has to be an advocate of not less than 5 years standing. Collective management organizations are organizations that deal with hundreds of millions of shillings for and on behalf of their members. So I would appreciate an explanation as to why it is, or does it already exist? What are the requirements for the chief executive officer of the collective management organization? Is it within the Act? Is it defined? Or is what is defined the executive officer of the Copyright Board?
Let's have Honorable Mburu, and then the chair will respond to Honorable Shamala's clarification.
Maybe first, Honorable Chair, maybe reacting to Madam Shawala. In this clause, we are more talking about the directors, and most of them being artists, we notice that most of them don't have degrees or such. But I think for the CEO, I think it is a missing link. I think we put the CEO to have a degree or something of sort. So we'll let the chair confirm from his papers, and he'll let you know. But to expound more on this clause 25, you have found that this clause is mainly taking care of these many CMOs who have a lot of artists in them. Recently, we've had a judgment in the courts about a CMO called Mpake and another one called Copyright Music Society, which was collecting revenue. So this clause is purely to protect the artists from their revenue being mishandled. You're finding that you have in the clause, an audit can be taken instantly by Kakobo. Under the proposed new section, the executive director of the Kenya Copyright Board may inspect any CMO at any time and recommend remedial action. That is the same clause 25. Because you're finding that the musicians out there, the artists out there are complaining they're not receiving their money, and we don't have remedial actions, so that we can be able even to take a CMO under statutory management. And we need this. We need good guidelines by Kekobo to each and every CMO. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, I know Honorable Shamala has directed the question at you. But do you need to clarify your question further?
It's very clear. Thank you, Madam Chair. This particular clause 25 refers and says that the Chief Executive Officer of a CMO shall hold office. It defines the term. What the honourable member has defined is the role of the Chief Executive Officer of the board, which is the oversight body of the collective management organization. My question is that the Chief Executive Officer of these various collective management organizations, you have only defined the term, you have not defined the qualifications. CMOs are highly technical bodies, whereas I can appreciate the fact that the member the board of directors qualifications is a post-secondary qualification. What is the qualification of the Chief Executive Officer who manages a collective management organization?
Honorable Shamala, you seem to be wanting to amend the clause as it is.
If it doesn't exist, that was the clarification I was requesting.
Maybe the
for,
chair
yes.
can explain, but I don't know whether he can change anything on his feet. Chair. Clause 25, Chair.
Honorable Chair, what we put here is on appointment of the CEO for a term of 4 and renewable once, subject to performance as by Mongoso. Qualifications we don't have here, Honorable Chair, because we thought as the CMOs themselves, these are collective management organizations, and already we believe they have their own terms of reference on how to engage CEOs, and we didn't want to encroach too much. But if members feel that we need to give and guide them so that they can employ competent CEOs, then basically we don't have any issue. We can bring in amendments.
Millie?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, what Honorable Shamala is asking, because I'm saying this is an amendment bill, maybe the definition is in the Parent Act. So perhaps if there's a technical person from the respective ministry could define whether there is such a definition in the Act. But if there is no definition in the Act, I think that's such a glaring omission that the chair could on his feet bring an amendment, because he has the authority by our standing orders to be able to do that. But I think I'm sure you have a technical person who is supporting you who can give us information as to whether this is there. Or in the alternative, I think we are online as Parliament. So if we are online, why can't we just confirm if that is there, Chair?
Very well put, Honorable Millie. And I think as I have other members ventilate on this, the chair can go on to do the necessary consultations with the technical people. Honorable Mutua Barasa.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want clarifications when the Chair says that a director elected under this section shall serve for 1 term of 3 years and shall be eligible for re-election for 1 further term. Does he mean that he will never seek will never be any re-election? It's not clear, Madam Chair. You need to clarify whether they are only allowed to serve a mandatory 2 terms.
Chair, I don't know, he's consulting. So Honorable Barasa, let the chair finish his consultations. In the meantime, Honorable Osotsi.
one of the things you may have noticed, that this is probably one of the longest amendment bill we have brought to this House. And I think next time when we are doing amendment bill, we must come up with standards. So that if there are so many things to be amended, it is better to come up with a fresh new bill than coming up with so many amendments that are confusing. Because this particular matter that has been raised here about the qualification of the CEO is actually in the Parent Act.
I'm going to have the chair respond to the issue of the Chief Executive Officer, but the CMOs of CEO of CMO, but what is coming out clear is that there are, there are many CMOs, but we have one umbrella body, a regulator, the Kenya Cooperative Board, the Kenya Copyright Board, which has a CEO whose credentials are clearly spelled out in the Parent Act. So, Chair, you may want to add something as to whether it's, that would be satisfactory or not.
Honorable Chair, we've checked it's not in the Parent Act. Secondly, Honorable Chair, when these members of CMOs, collective management organizations, came to our committee, we actually brought up this issue, but they said these are private members coming together and agreeing who is going to be their own CEO to run their own affairs. If we amend, Honorable Chair, this particular section, this particular clause, and put qualifications, say a degree, maybe in law or in accounts or any relevant field, business, these members might not be comfortable with it because they're the ones who said it's our business, it's private, it's members' organization. We decide as members who is going to be the CEO. We cannot stipulate for them and give them minimum qualifications. Supposing they are all from the maximum qualifications, one of the members who wants to be the CEO is a Form 4. Are we going to deny them the right to choose their own leader?
Honorable, yes, Honorable Millie, what's out of order?
Chair, with due respect to the chair of the committee, I think he's confusing issues. When he's talking about these groups, whether they're organizing, you must differentiate between elective positions and technical positions. So what Honorable Shamala is saying, it doesn't matter what level of organizing you have, so long as you are doing technical work, there needs to be some level of technical qualifications. But if it is an elective position, you can elect anyone. You can elect even a person who didn't go to nursery school. But when it comes to technical issues and you are putting, you know, the interest of your group on the line, really it has to be somebody who understands basic things, even basic accounting, and some of the issues that the artists have been complaining about is people misusing their own collection. So, Chair, I think that is something that even if we cannot deal with it here, maybe it's something that we can reconsider, consult, and if possible, recommit as we are going on. There's always room to recommit after further consultations. But so that we don't take too much time, I would urge that we move on, but they consult between themselves and the technical people, whether you need qualifications.
But Honorable Millie, without, I think the chair is just stating the reality of what is. If, again, there's a need for a further amendment, you know we have provision for that. So that we can dispense with that. So I would want to throw it back to the chair to give us direction.
Honorable Chair, I was saying what we need to do is we can, since it was silent in the Parent Act, we leave it silent. Secondly, we have given a proposal to Kenya Copyright Board and the sector and the the Attorney General Office, basically to repeal this law, because the initial law was about 30-something pages, and with the amendments, we are having around 65. So there was no need actually to do these amendments. We should have done, and we should have repealed this law. And they have said as soon as we pass this, basically they are going to engage consultants to reveal the law. So basically we can become silent on the qualifications as they start the process of repealing this law, so that within 6 months we come back to the House with totally a new law.
Very well. Honorable Millie?
I'm sorry, Chair, I'm raising too many points of order. But the chairman has raised a very fundamental issue without realizing. He's saying that the amendments that have been raised by the committee are more than 50%. So substantively, by the rules of this House, we should not even be discussing these amendments. So if that is his position, would I be in order to say that this, the proceedings at this stage be stayed until he gets further direction? Because then we need a substantive bill, as was actually suggested by Honorable Sotsi, Madam Chair. Because if you are bringing amendments, really by the rules of this House, you cannot bring amendments that are more than 50% of the bill. So really, if that is actually the position of the committee, I don't even know how come the technical team allowed them to bring such so many amendments. Thanks, Chair.
I don't think that's the position of the committee. Chair, is that where you want to direct the House?
Not, Honorable Chair. I said the original bill was around 38, and this about 60, which is basically, is it 60 or what? Basically, what we saw, it's less than 50, because when we went through, it was around 30. It was around 30, so that is why we gave that proposal that they need to go and sit down, so that within, in the course of the year or so, 2 years, they come back after they have done the bill. But it is less than 50%. It's the threshold is less than 50. It's about 28%.
Honorable Shamala, are you a member of the committee?
No, I'm not a member of the committee, but I want to echo the sentiments of Honorable Millie Odhiambo. I don't want us to be the parliament that where the blame will be put upon as allowing anybody and everybody to manage the monies, the royalties of the artists of this country. These artists are not just musicians. There's various areas of collective management organizations. It's of deep concern that where you say that anyone with secondary, I have no problem with you being an elected representative, but to say it can be anybody, and yet in the memoranda and objects of reasons, you state that the bill addresses the collective administration of copyright by introducing provisions on the title for organizations reflecting current system position. The provisions also address corporate governance requirements. Which corporate governance requirements are this if this committee states that it can be on anybody? Collective management organizations require highly specialized skills combined not just in the area of law but in the area of copyright and related rights and accountancy.
Chair, this is a bill which has gone through public participation, right? And I think you need to guide the House that the position of the stakeholders is actually in line with what we are deliberating.
Actually, Honorable Chair, what the CMOs came to our committee. There are also members who came directly themselves as individuals. And what they said, it is up to the CMOs now to set up their own qualifications for the CEOs. It's not up to this House to prescribe the qualifications, because this is not a public body. That is the reason why we put in the requirements for the executive director for Kekobo, because Kekobo is a public body, it's a parastatal. That's why we put in specifically, and they requested to say, the one that specifically somebody with a degree in law, experience also in intellectual property. But for the CMOs, it's not in our purview to prescribe the qualifications, up to the CMOs themselves. As when the CMOs are formed, they should be able to advertise and indicate the qualifications that they need. If they need expertise in intellectual property, I believe Kekobo should be able to assist them, and also their own lawyers.
Fair enough. Honorable Nikal?
Yeah, I think we are talking of, in this, there are two different organizations. There is the board he's talking about, which is an overall board, which is a parastatal. I think for that, if you look at the act, there is actually a requirement of the educational requirement. But what they are talking here are very many small organizations that have created themselves and are actually being managed by the bigger board. It is these organizations whose CEOs we are talking about. I find it myself that it is acceptable that at that level they can organize themselves. But the parastatal itself, if it has that requirement, I think that's protective adequately. So I would let this pass, really.
I think it's quite clear now, and I'll go on to put the question that clause 25 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. And I go on to put the question that clause 25 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 26.
No amendment on this one, and I propose the question that clause 26 be part of the bill. And I go on to put the question that clause 26 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 27.
I propose a question that clause 27 be part of the bill. Chair?
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 27 be amended as on the other paper. Reason being, Honorable Chair, is we want to amend section 48 of the Act to include the arbitration of disputes between right holders in the mandate of the proposed copyright tribunal, and to place the tribunal under the judiciary. I know it is as contemplated in Article 169 1D of the Constitution. Initially, this tribunal was placed under a ministry, but we said now it should go to the judiciary instead of being under Attorney General office. Honorable Chair, I propose that we amend as proposed by the committee.
I propose a question that clause 27 be amended as proposed. Honorable Mili?
Chair, whereas I have no objection to the proposed amendment, I just want to encourage the chair. Chair, if I'd actually seen this much earlier, I would have brought an amendment myself. But as per the normal practice now, that we be sensitive to gender issues, is it possible for the chair to move that some of the members, or a given number of the members, would be of the opposite gender, so that we have representation of both men and women in this body?
Chair?
Honorable Chair, the reason why we didn't specifically specify here, because I thought it's already in the Constitution, and all these bodies, they know one gender cannot be more than 2/3. So it's a silent, it's silent, but it's already in the law. But going forward, Honorable Chair, we will be alive to it and specify so that those who are mischievous don't take advantage and exclude either gender.
Honorable Mburu?
Oh, thank you, Madam. I think that one has passed. I was just in support of clause 27 on the change of names and on the copyright tribunal, which will be solving disputes rather than calling it a competent authority. So we need a tribunal by itself, which is composed of men and women, as enticed in our constitution. Thank you.
Yes, what, you want to inform Honorable Mburu? Who? So just contribute. Don't take a roundabout. Honorable Osotsi.
Okay, I just wanted to support what my colleagues have said. You know, initially the tribunal was under the Attorney General, but given that there are so many disputes in this area, some of them very complicated, we thought it was important that the tribunal is appointed and is under the jurisdiction of the Chief Justice to make it a proper court or in dealing with matters to do with copyright, which are increasingly becoming more complex.
So you're supporting?
I'm supporting.
Okay, I'll go on to put the question that clause 27 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I go on to put the final question that clause 27 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 28.
I propose the question that clause 28 be part of the bill. Chair?
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 28 be amended as on the order paper. Honorable Chair, our proposal as committee and also the stakeholders is to amend section 49 of the Act to include the mandate contained in the proposed section 46F as part of the regulations to be met by the Cabinet Secretary. Basically, the Attorney General here, who is designated Cabinet Secretary for copyright works, is supposed to make regulations under the delegated legislation so that the CMOs and the copyright board is able to function and actualize this law. Honorable Chair, we also intend to include the formulation of a system for the identification of copyright works so that it's easy to identify what is copyrighted or not, and also monitoring of payment, collection and distribution of royalties as part of the regulations to be met by the Attorney General, who is the Cabinet Secretary in this place. Honorable Chair, the CMOs requires these regulations so that the beneficiaries, the owner of the copyright, benefits from the royalties that will accrue from the works. Honorable Chair, we are also trying to align section 49 with Article 94(6) of the Constitution on the purpose and limits of the exercise of delegated powers, which this House delegates to the Cabinet Secretaries and also respective organizations to make regulations to function well. Honorable Chair, I propose that and ask members to support this amendment as proposed.
I propose a question that clause 28 be amended as proposed. Honorable Barasa?
Chair, I support. This is a really very good amendments, especially where it talks about outlining what should be done from section 2, so that the operations of such CMOs will be much more objective, Madam Chair. I support these amendments.
Honorable Lakoth?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I wish to support this amendment, specifically the one that provides that regulations shall provide guidelines on the gender representation and participation of persons with disability and other marginalized groups on the boards of collective management organizations. And Chair, I want to encourage the Chair of the committee that in subsequent ones, they need to be as clear as where you are providing for the small organizations. Provide for the same on the boards. And Chair, also as a writer and as a person who also did intellectual property rights for my master's, I think most of the amendments that they're providing are very progressive. But Chair, finally, I just wanted to say, you'll excuse me as a Jonicam lately, or Jenicam lately. But yeah, it's been brought to my attention that we are having computers on my right and on my left, but not where I'm sitting. I don't know whether this is a part of discrimination because I'm a permanent feature here, or maybe you can advise why where I'm sitting there are no computers and there are computers in other areas.
But,
no wonder I was not able to get the information I wanted as fast as I wanted, Chair.
But I think, Honorable Millie, even if it was discrimination, it would be equal discrimination on both sides. Otherwise, you missed a communication from the Speaker earlier this afternoon that actually we are still awaiting completion of operationalization of the gadgets. So even if they are appearing there, I don't think they are functioning. I don't think they are in use at the moment until all of them have been operationalized and everybody taken through the necessary training. So don't worry, there is no discrimination. I'll go on to put the question that clause 28 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I put the final question that clause 28 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 29.
We have no amendment on this one, and I propose a question that clause 29 be part of the bill. And I go on to put the question that clause 29 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
New clause 7A.
I now call the mover to move the second reading of new clause 7A.
It's on
okay. Page 812, 812 of the order paper, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Before I move, I just wanted to inform Honorable Millie Odhiambo that the House is going digital.
Honorable Chair, just move the clause first.
Oh, okay.
For second reading.
Honorable Chair, I move that clause 7, new clause 7A, be okay. That be read a second time.
Yes.
The Principal Act is amended by repealing section 21 and substituting thereof the following new section. 1, Honorable Chair, a person aggrieved by the decision of the board under this act may, within 60 days, from the date of the decision, appeal to the Copyright Tribunal. Second, Honorable Chair, is the board shall provide written comments on any matter over which an appeal has been submitted to the Copyright Tribunal under this section upon request from the Copyright Tribunal. 3, the Copyright Tribunal shall issue a decision on the appeal within 30 days from the date of an appeal. Honorable Chair, we are doing this so that in case somebody goes to the tribunal and there is an appeal, Honorable Chair, the tribunal needs to make a decision within the shortest time possible because this is where money is involved and it's important that decisions are made timely because the value of money is time bound. So that's why we said it's important that the decisions are made within a short time. So, Honorable Chair, I move.
I propose a question that new clause 7A be now read a second time. I go on to put the question that new clause 7A be now read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I propose a question that new clause 7A be part of the bill. I go on to put the question that new clause 7A be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
New clause 9A.
I now call upon the mover to move second reading of new clause 9A.
Honorable Chair, I move that clause 9A be read a second time. Honorable Chair, Section 23 of the Principal Act is amended in subsection 2 by inserting the word traumatic immediately after the word musical. Honorable Chair, if you remember on the earlier amendments, traumatic works were not included as copyrighted works. So that's why we are saying it's important that we include it here. Honorable Chair, in section B, in subsection 3, by inserting the word traumatic immediately after the word musical. 9B, section 24(1)A of the Principal Act is amended by inserting the word dramatic immediately after the word musical. Section 9C, section 25(B)(2) of the Principal Act is amended by inserting the word dramatic. Basically, Honorable Chair, we are introducing here dramatic works in the bill, so that those who, our dramatists, those who are acting, also benefit from their works. I remember the late Mzee Kajwang, he used to act on Vitimbi, he used to move around all the hotels and also on KBC, but he died a poor man. And we need to reward these people from their talent. Honorable Chair, I move.
Chair, I think you have gone ahead of us, you've gone into 9B and C.
Oh, sorry.
But I will propose the question on 9A, and then we can move faster on the other two because you've already spoken to them. So I go on to propose a question that new clause 9A be now read a second time. And I go on to put the question that new clause 9A be now read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I propose a question that new clause 9A be part of the bill. Seeing no interest, I'll go on to put the question that new clause 9A be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
New clause 9B and 9C.
I now call the mover to move second reading of new clauses 9B and 9C.
Honorable Chair, I move that clause 9B and 9C be read a second time. Honorable Chair, this is basically to amend section 24 and 5 of the Act to include dramatic works as part of works that are covered under this Act.
Sure.
I move.
I propose a question that new clauses 9B and 9C be now read a second time. And I go on to put the question that new clauses 9B and 9C be now read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of our contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I go on to propose a question that new clauses 9B and 9C be part of the bill. And I go on to put the question that new clauses 9B and 9C be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
New clause 11A.
I now call upon the mover to move second reading of new clause 11A.
Honorable Chair, I move that clause 11A on the order paper, I propose that new clause 11A be read a second time. That section 27 of the Principal Act is amended in subsection 1 by inserting the word dramatic immediately after the word musical. In B, in subsection 2 by deleting the words competent. Basically, Honorable Chair, we've basically changed competent authority to a tribunal that will be administered from the judiciary as the rest of the tribunals as by the Constitution. So basically, I propose, Honorable Chair, that this section clause 11A be read a second time.
I propose a question that new clause 11A be now read a second time. And I go on to put the question that new clause 11A be now read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I go on to propose a question that new clause 11A be part of the bill. And I go on to put the question that new clause 11A be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
New clause 20A.
I call upon the mover to move second reading of new clause 20A.
Honorable Chair, I move that clause 20A be read a second time. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chair, sections 37(1) of the Principal Act is amended by deleting the words competent authority wherever it appears and substituting the words copyright tribunal. Honorable Chair, this is basically to ensure that where in this particular section the competent authority appears, we substitute with tribunal, as we had said earlier, because we said also this particular tribunal be administered from the office of the judiciary. So this is basically a cleanup of this particular section, and I urge and ask members that we support this new amendment so that at least this particular law can go back to those who are using, and they start using it as soon as we complete this amendment. Honorable Chair, I move.
I propose a question that new clause 20A be now read a second time. And I go on to put the question that new clause 20A be now read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I go on to propose a question that new clause 20A be part of the bill. And I'll go on to put the final question that new clause 20A be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I propose a question that clause 2 be part of the bill. Mover?
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 2 of the bill be amended as on the order paper. One, Honorable Chair, is we have proposed, as I had said earlier, to include dramatic works as part of works covered under this particular law. We are also cleaning it up, and if you go through the bill, there were some errors, on the topographical errors. We have made some changes to delete the definition of technical measure, as I had said earlier, to technological measures, protection measures. This is to include also online transactions. Honorable Chair, we are also deleting the definition of the word organization and substituting with collective management organizations, CMOs, instead of just an organization, for clarity, so that the bill is consistent. We are also deleting the definition of original work of art, which is unnecessary because it is obvious, it's known. To amend the definition of publication to apply to intangible works as well as to amend the Act to delete the definition of competent authority wherever it appears in the proposal and substituting it with the Copyright Tribunal. So, Honorable Chair, these are the changes that we have proposed, and I urge and ask members to agree with the committee and carry on with the amendments. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
I propose a question that clause 2 be part of the bill. Sorry. I propose a question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. Honorable Nyikal?
Chair, whereas I support this amendment, there's one major introduction I've seen of dramatic works. And I have a problem with the word, and I could be guided because it sounds more like an adjective, a descriptive, rather than describing the acts of drama. And I would have thought that there would be a definition in this clause. And I'm particularly so concerned because musical work has been clearly defined, while dramatic work, I have not seen any definition. Maybe the chair or the members of the committee can really enlighten me on that. We really don't need to define the word dramatic works as well.
Chair?
Honorable Chair, let me just check. I believe Honorable Chair, the reason why I had said earlier, in the bill, in the amended bill, we did not add drama, so that's why we said we include the word dramatic works. These are the way I was saying about the late Ojwang. What Ojwang was doing can be described as dramatic works. And I thought this is basically very clear. And we have defined, Honorable Nyikal, maybe you can repeat and then I can basically answer it.
Chair, what I would want is actually an inclusion of definition of dramatic work, like has been done for musical work. And it would probably go something like dramatic work means work of drama, irrespective of the drama quality, and includes work graphic, because even drama can also be in graphic form. But if we can't do it now, then probably that is something will come later. But I think it may have been necessary. I won't push hard because that context is understood even without the definition, but it would have been really nice to have a definition.
Chair?
Good, Honorable Chair, we, as the member has said, we assumed that basically the word dramatic work is obvious, but now that it's coming out that it might not be very obvious, as going forward, as we've said in the future soon, as we repeal in the future, we'll basically carry on and define dramatic work so that it's very clear what it is to everybody, so that we don't leave it ambiguous. It's been noted, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Shamala?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Yes, I think I'd like to add and say that dramatic works is not something that is so obvious. It is work such as plays, radio or television scripts. It's even choreography and pantomimes, which are accompanied by music. And because copyright has a lifespan to it of 50 years, or during the lifetime and 50 years after your death, if it could be proven that actually the dance, like the Isikuti dance, belongs to a particular person, and the movements of that dance, that is part of drama, we can break it down. We can say the words are the poetry, the actual musical instrument is the music, and the movement is the dramatic form. So I want to agree that it is extremely important that we do have a definition for what dramatic works are. They're not just plays on television.
Chair, do you have anything else to add to what you said earlier?
Not Honorable Chair, but basically say we have noted, and we will basically, going forward, we'll define and put all the descriptions, and so that at least it's very clear. And we have not said it's only what appears on TV. I only mentioned one particular dramatist or actor, the late Ojwang, but there are many, many dramas that in the churches, even in the villages. I was in Nyakach over this weekend, and we had some very good skuti in Nyakach, so it's okay. Going forward, we'll ensure it's very clear and it's not ambiguous. We define it.
Very well. I now put the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I go on to put the final question that clause 2 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Title.
We have no amendment on the title, and I propose that the title be part of the bill. I propose that the title be the title of the bill. And I go on to put the question that the title be the title of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
We have no amendment on this, and I propose that clause 1 be part of the bill. And I go on to put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Copyright Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2017, and its approval thereof with amendments.
I go on to put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Copyright Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2017, and its approval thereof with amendments. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Can we have the chairperson to report to the House?
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Copyright Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2017, and approved the same with amendments.
With amendments, can we have the mover of the bill to move the agreement with the reports? The mover of the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I also request Honorable Chair of the committee to second the motion for agreement with the report of the committee of the whole House.
Honorable Chair to second.
Honorable Speaker, I stand to second the report from the mover of the bill and agree that that I second.
Very well. Honourable members, I propose the question for adoption, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Members, we have no quorum to make a decision on this, and so I do order that this particular report is deferred to the next appropriate time. Next order.
Order number 12, the Land Value Index Laws Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 3 of 2018, second reading.
Order of members on this one, that is order number 12. It's a resumption of debate interrupted the Wednesday, July 4th, 2018, in the afternoon sitting. Then the member for Mumias, and Mumias East. We have many Mumias. Mumias East, you had a balance of 8 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's true that the debate on this bill adjourned when I had an opportunity to contribute for 2 minutes, and I still have about 8 minutes. Madam Speaker, the adjournment gave me an opportunity to look at this bill much better than I had, and Madam Speaker, the importance of this bill cannot be overemphasized, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, for those members who are yet to contribute, I want them to ask themselves a few questions. Madam Speaker, I want them to ask themselves why today the terminal of SGR that is meant to be serving the town of Nairobi direct from Mombasa to Nairobi in the CBD, like many other countries, Madam Speaker, you will find that the terminal of a national railway like SGR should actually be serving Kenyans up to the CBD, the center of the CBD of a capital city of Nairobi. But, Madam Speaker, members should ask themselves, why is the terminal why is the SGR ending in Embakasi? And why, even when you go to Mombasa, you will find that the terminal is ending at Miritini instead of going right into the heart of Mombasa town. Madam Speaker, members should also ask themselves, in the SGR today, the extension that we already have from Embakasi, it's running direct through the national park all the way to Naivasha, instead of passing town on its way to Naivasha. Madam Speaker, this is just one very clear signs of why the SGR could be running away from the expensive compensations that they would actually experience if they were to pass through the town of Nairobi. Because, Madam Speaker, this land bill index Madam Speaker, it should be able to cater for this. Madam Speaker, I think this bill should be able to stop developers, especially these prospective land buyers, from buying land, especially when already a survey has been done. Those who are buying land to speculate. Madam Speaker, it has been a tradition that whenever the government announces a major commencement of a major project, you will find individuals flooding that area, and especially individuals who are connected to the government, the respective officers who are doing this. Madam Speaker, you will find, like for example, right now, there is already a plan of how SGR will move from Naivasha all the way to Kisumu through Narok, and even beyond that. There is a place, Madam Speaker, in Western, in Matungu, where someone from Nairobi here has bought a chunk of land up to 30 acres, and the price that he was paying was very attractive, that made people move away from Matungu. And I know, Madam Speaker, that eventually, maybe this could be the place that may have been designed to be a station that will serve that area. Therefore, Madam Speaker, the insiders, the people who have designed this SGR, they will usually reveal this information to a few other people who they I think, end up sharing the benefits that come with it. Madam Speaker, I think this is another way of corruption. And I think as this land index bill dictates, we should be able in future take care of this kind of corrupt practices. Madam Speaker, the Big Four agenda that is dealing with the housing, manufacturing, for food security, and even the development of infrastructure for universal health care. We risk developing this Big Four agenda because, Madam Speaker, all of them are associated with land. And if we do not approve this land index bill, Madam Speaker, it will definitely affect the Big Four. And I think as a member of this House, I will not lie down, I will not see this going down the train. Madam Speaker, the Vision 2030 is also endangered. If you know about the projects of Konza City, the LAPSET, are projects that actually are dependent on the availability of land. And if we do not do anything at this point, Madam Speaker, we run the risk of also losing the good ideas that we had in the Vision 2030. Madam Speaker, the investors must actually be protected, Madam Speaker. I know of a project that is about to start in Kakamega, which is my county, and there's an investor who has requested for some land so that he can develop, operate, and then hand over to the county after some period. And that is in Mudiri Estate and Otiende Estate down there in Kakamega. Madam Speaker, if this House approved this land index bill, I'm sure we will comfortably get this land for this developer so that the housing problem is sorted out in Kakamega. Madam Speaker, as I finish, I realized there was an observation of quite a number of members, Madam Speaker, who had actually pointed out that land valuers and real estate members of the real estate had not been involved in this. As we go to the third reading, Madam Speaker, I would wish that the committee finds time to get their opinion so that we can develop a bill through the third reading that is all-inclusive. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, I wish to support.
Thank you very well. You wish to support. Member for Kimilili, are you in the house? Yes, next on my request list, Mutua Baraza.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also rise to support this bill because it seeks to cure a compensation problem that we have experienced for a very long time in this country. It sets a timeline upon which such compensation should be effected upon that land being acquired for public use. Madam Speaker, you recall that in this country we have people who have suffered, who have waited for compensation until they have died. Even their grandchildren have also continued to wait for such compensation. And this bill seeks to provide a solution for this matter, Madam Speaker. And it also sets out guidelines for valuation of such land, that no one is just going to wake up and determine the price of that land. And that we also not going to have discrepancies where you find that land within the same particular area, depending on who owned that land prior before, one getting more money, others getting lesser money. So this is going to address the equity in terms of the value for those land, regardless of whether that land was owned by Didmas Barasa as Member of Parliament, or it was owned by a peasant farmer or a woman who sells tomatoes along the road. So it's going to address that equity, Madam Speaker. For this, I also support. It also seeks to set up the Land Acquisition Tribunal so that those people who will not be satisfied with the decisions that, with the scenarios that have, been followed prior to the land being taken over for public use, that they can go there to at least seek for, grievances to be sorted out, because very many Kenyans are suffering in the hands of the Land Commission. The Land Commission doesn't they seem even to some officers colluding with the other people to disenfranchise the landowners. And this bill seeks to provide an avenue where such disputes can be addressed. It also sets the timeline under time taken for such tribunal to listen to the grievances and the dispense of such matters, Madam Speaker. And this is very important because like any other tribunal, you found that a matter is taken before a tribunal, it stays there for very many years, as long as even 5 years, even 10 years. But this bill sets a timeline upon which such matter had been received by the tribunal. And for that reason, Madam Speaker, I support this bill. This bill is timely. And I also urge my colleagues to support this bill for the benefit of this country. I support this, Madam Speaker. And it will also it will speed up acquisition of such land for public use. You understand that there are very many very good projects which will benefit the Kenyan people, but they have stalled because of land matters. It was not done properly. There are so many disputes, and lack of a dispute resolution mechanism makes such projects taking off take ages. And in such scenario, Madam Speaker, you find that the general public will lose money by the time that such projects comes to take off. Very many factors will have changed. The environmental matter will have changed, and it doesn't even give Kenyans a value for their money, owing to the time taken for the government, the amount of money that will have been pumped in such projects initially, just to be hampered because of such land disputes ranging from ownership to the community not supporting such project, Madam Speaker. For this reason, Madam Speaker, I beg to support. Thank you.
Very well, very well. The member for Funyula, the Honorable Holder Ojambo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the onset, let me indicate or declare that I've been involved in land acquisition, both under compulsory acquisition and resettlement action plans, as a valuer and as a land economist.
So you are declaring interest, so you just want to inform the House?
I just want to bring to the attention so that it's not construed in any way. And indeed, I must also comment that indeed we are members of ISK, that's Institutional Surveyors of Kenya, have not been consulted, have not been given an opportunity to make a presentation in respect of this matter. But nevertheless, Madam Speaker, let me again also note that the amount of suffering that the people who own land have undergone through as a result of compulsory acquisition has been harrowing. Many of us remember the Ndakaine Dam. Many of us remember the Thiba Dam, that the matter has dragged on since 2012. Many of us remember very many cases that have dragged on endlessly without conclusion. I have perused through the bill, Madam Speaker, and there are fundamental breaches of the Constitution and normal practice that we as ISK and as a Member of Parliament will seek amendments at the right time. Specifically, Madam Speaker, it is unfair and extremely out of the ordinary to peg that compensation for people who do not have right to land can only be made to those who have occupied land for an interrupted period of 12 years. Many of us know that in this country, land transactions happen every day. Many of us know in this country, we buy land, especially in rural areas, even in peri-urban areas, we never conclude the transaction for one reason or the other. Because succession cases, we have no money to pay stamp duty, we have no money to pay legal fees, and the rest. To literally legislate that will only consider people after 12 years is a complete breach of the law, of the Constitution, and is a complete contradiction of the best practices as practiced by World Bank Operational Policy 4.12 and other operational policies that govern resettlement action plans all over the world. Obviously, I appreciate the need to have some form of capping and sanity in the acquisition process, but to indeed violate the rights of the people, contrary to Article 43 of the Constitution, is indeed being unfair, punishing the people, punishing the genuine landowners for mistakes and excesses committed by government officials, fraudulent action that are actionable in another area. Obviously, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, the process of determining the value of land or own asset is simple and clear. The practice over the world has said is based on willing buyer, willing seller, and the force of supply and demand. I hope the tribunal, those who will be involved in setting values, and there's no provision how often it should be set, will obviously not distort the land market and generally discourage dealings in the land market. The government draws a lot of revenue from land transactions. Any action that generally distorts or discourages land transactions will obviously hurt this economy and kill investor interest. I'm happy, I'm pleased, there is a provision that will punish any government official who has privy information to the intended acquisition of land by public bodies to take advantage of that information. But again, it's a tall order to prove that anybody acted in bad faith. Of course, I've seen it's also a progressive nature action to set a land acquisition tribunal, but of course the composition of land tribunal seems also to be skewed to the same people who have been involved in government malpractices in the government cycle. Obviously then we'll have to seek either a complete review or an expansion of the land acquisition tribunal. Many of the people who suffer are the ordinary squatters, the ordinary landowners who end up suffering for many years to come. I also still feel a 1 year period provided to pay full compensation and even to contemplate paying compensation installments is generally to deprive the owner of the land, because the base of acquisition is to leave the landowner or the whose land is being taken in a similar or not worse position than you found him. Holding on to land after payment after 1 year, by the time that person seeking payment, purchase of land elsewhere, chances are the land values will have tripled or even doubled. As normally is the practice, you should never displace somebody and take him far away from his natural environment or the environment he has been used to. Because land acquisition for public purposes should not punish a typical landowner, a typical peasant, a typical trader. So definitely we must put a provision that 1 year is too long. We should seek a shorter provision, because I don't believe, unless there are in emergency cases, that a state corporation or state organ will wake up all of a sudden and decide now we must acquire land. It must have been budgeted for, planned for adequately, so before even the government or the National Land Commission accepts to commence land acquisition process, they should have been put in adequate funds to allow for compensation. There are basic tools of budgeting. It shouldn't be a problem for any typical state organ to budget. I support the proposed bill, but at the appropriate time, we'll move necessary amendments to align it to the Constitution, to align it to other laws and best practices in the profession, and safeguard the welfare of the landowners. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Well said. The Honorable Wachira Kabiga, the member for Mwea constituency.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to also support this bill, and want to thank also the speaker who spoke before me for mentioning in particular the experiences that he had with what we refer to as the River Dam compensation, where people gave out their titles in the year 2012, and to date we are yet to be about, we are about 60% in the compensation. Madam Speaker, once enacted, this particular bill will collect a number of irregularities and illegalities that has characterized compensation processes in our country for quite some time. I contribute to this bill, Madam Speaker, once again, with a lot of experiences, especially on that particular project, the River Dam, where I know that our people are really suffering. Madam Speaker, this particular compensation that started in the year 2012 has denied our people a number of rights. They gave out their titles, they cannot go to banks, they cannot get legal ways of acquiring finances, and in the process, some people have taken advantage. They have lent money to these farmers, and they end up in extorting a lot of money from them. And therefore, having this particular bill, Madam Speaker, is very important for this country. Section 2 of this bill stipulates that within 12 months, the beneficiary must be compensated. And I think this will go a long way, Madam Speaker, to correcting some of the problems that we have been having. The bill is not only going to benefit the beneficiaries, it is also going to play a big role in ensuring that the government does not lose a lot of money that has also gone to fraudulent valuations and or information leakages from government officials out there. We are aware that whenever there is this kind of compensation, there is a lot of conspiracy, Madam Speaker, that doubles up or triples the would-be amount that would be compensated, and this is why the government is getting constrained whenever we have this kind of compensation. And I hope that Section 157 will be strengthened even much more so that it can be more punitive for anybody to conspire to escalate valuation for some of these properties that the government is or would be compensating, Madam Speaker. Another problem that we have observed, Madam Speaker, that I hope this bill will correct, and it will, is that in the past, some people were being compensated, but titles will still remain in their hands. In the process, whatever compensation they get, they will probably sell out the land that they are given and then remain in the original land. We have these kind of cases in my constituency, in a place called Kagio, in a place called Kutus, where schools and churches are still suffering 20 years, more than 20 years after some people are compensated, Madam Speaker. And therefore this bill is coming at the right time so that we can correct some of these anomalies. We can ensure that once compensated, you do not stay or remain where the projects are intended to take place, but you'd probably move out and go to where you have been compensated. And therefore, this bill, Madam Speaker, is very, very important. I am hoping that it will also address some of the past issues that are there. So many court cases currently. I believe if in this country we could ask or make a call for people to come out who have cases relating to compensation, Madam Speaker, you will be surprised how many people would come out. And therefore, I stand to support this bill. We need it like yesterday. Thanks, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, the member for Mwea. The next on my request list is a member for Kwanza, the Honorable Wanyonyi Kevin, on this.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think this is it's long overdue, and I should have actually enacted this some times back. Looking at the bill, I think it's very timely. Madam Speaker, out there, and a very recent experience, only 2 days ago, the Chinese people came to my constituency to construct the road. And before that, they were looking for a place where they could put a camp. Madam Speaker, I can tell you, because there's nothing in writing, the owner of the land just kept on changing the rates within 2 months. In fact, as I talk like this, they are not even able to have the campsite because at one time they were talking about a rate that came from the blue, because there's no standard way of actually determining what rate one would be able to offer. Something that is actually there and be able to, because it's harmonized, comparing various sites. And the owner of the land kept on increasing the rates. And when I got involved, he got scared. But even when we negotiated, behind my back, he raised again the rates. So this, I think, will be able to stabilize and harmonize the value of land and land rates. And of course, given that this country, we want to industrialize. And you can only industrialize by actually attracting the investors to come this country. And therefore, if you have something that can be able to be a fallback in case of a confusion, Madam Speaker, I can tell you that land is the most important factor in terms of investment. And this country is yearning for investment. Most of members here have traveled out of the countries. Some countries that we thought were behind development today and they're almost 300 years ahead of us. In other words, we are behind 300 years. I had a case in China where I had the opportunity to go around 3 cities, and I was very, very impressed because, Madam Speaker, I can tell you China is very developed because when you move from one area to the other, you know exactly how much the land is going to be. It is harmonized rates, harmonized standards.
Order. Honorable member for Kwanza, Honorable Wanyonyi Kevin. There is an intervention by the member for Likoni constituency. Honorable Hamisi Boko. I thought the member was rightly, yes, what is...
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a very important bill. And Madam Speaker, there is so many interests and we have so many challenges in this country. And the way I see right now, we don't have a proper quorum so that we can execute this bill. Madam Speaker, I beg maybe if you can put some adjournment so that we have a proper quorum.
Which standing order are you on? Because you shouted, anyway, I heard you about quorum. And she says there's a lot of interest. Anyway, before I get to the honorable member for Likoni, which I'll rightly guide, let's have the member for Kwanza. Just.
Yeah, I think Majesty has a point. This is a very important bill. For the benefit of this House, I quite agree with the Honorable Member. I think this House should be full for us to be able to prosecute this because it actually helps us to pass a message to our electors. So, but that notwithstanding, this bill I think is very timely. I had another very practical example, Madam Speaker, if you allow me. And since I'm on the floor, you've allowed me. Again, we wanted to expand the airstrip, Kitale airstrip, because of unfortunate case, Madam Speaker, where almost 9 lives were lost because the airstrip is actually not very good. They're only allowing small planes which are not pressurized. And therefore, we wanted to expand the airstrip because of the huge volume of traffic from the North Rift, particularly Kitale. And Madam Speaker, I took part in the negotiation of the expansion of the airstrip. Madam Speaker, as I'm talking like this, we have come to attach
Honorable member for Kwanza. Honorable Wanyonyi Kevin, so that we can also prosecute procedurally the standing order number 35, Honorable Mishi, on issue of quorum during the proceedings. And since it was raised when you were on your feet, you know, remember, I want just to attend to... Yes, Honorable Mishi, you want to confirm your...
Yes, Madam Speaker, I want to confirm that is Standing Order 35.
Standing Order number 35.
35, yes, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, Honorable Member for Likoni is rightly in order to stand on Standing Order number 35, seeking adjournment because of the lack of quorum, of course, and given the interest of the matter. From where I sit, honorable members, I order the bell to be rung. And honorable member for Kwanza, you will have your 6 minutes, 6 minutes.
10 minutes, it's been disrupted. Come on.
Order. Honorable member, you cannot leave the chamber. You're not the whip. You're not the whip. Let the whip do their work. You're not the whip. You're not the whip. Let the whip do their work. quorum bell to stop. Honourable members, the Honourable Boko rose on standing order number 35, lack of quorum, and pursuant to the same standing order number 35 2A, I adjourn the House. Honourable members. Honourable, yes, the honourable member, you will have your 6 minutes. Your 6 minutes to debate on the same. Honourable members, the time being 6:26 p.m. This House stands adjourned till the Wednesday, 25th July 2018 at 9:30 a.m. I thank you all.